They were the stone cold rock and roll professionals, and there may never be a group of that caliber again.
Thank you, Abe.
You got it?
Well,
Gotta file a
well, as you can see by the
Double scale that.
we've started tonight. Well, first of all, Denny, thank you very much for that video clip to open us up.
Thank you.
Excellent. And again, I'm so privileged for such an amazing panel of people I have on my sofa. So Abe Laboriel Jr., of course.
Hello.
Okay. Again, someone I've known for many years.
Quite a while now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a gentleman I've never met before, Denny Tedesco, who we all owe so much to.
Money?
Bringing. You made a DVD. Wow. You bought this story. You're never going to earn any money. That's the end of it. For bringing us the Wrecking Crew.
First time someone said I owe you.
And again, a gentleman I've known for a long time, Russ Miller. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Denny, first of all, thank you very much for solving my Christmas presents for a lot of people this year.
I should say, my Christmas present was the Wrecking Crew.
So was mine.
So many people I bought the DVD for this year, so thank you very
Keep
much.
going.
So I did pay you. There you go.
That's true. Do you have Valentine's Day coming up?
Although, have we got the English
Yes,
one?
I have
So the
the
English
Yeah,
Wrecking
the
Crew
English is
cover
different.
is different to the US one, though.
Yeah.
So they're probably all going to say, we want the US one now.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
No,
good.
but I like
Did they
this one
translate
better.
it to
I do like that.
Yeah, I like this one better. Because I like the picture
Well,
where
you
you see,
show,
where you kind of
show the boys the difference. What happened is the English group,
Yeah.
they looked at that and go, well, we're not sure exactly what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
Right.
Because there's a jukebox on the table.
Yeah.
And
From
The
a
character
diner.
from Star
From a
Wars,
diner,
isn't it?
From Mel's Diner, right?
yeah, exactly.
That's great, of course.
It makes sense, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for bringing that to
Well,
us.
thank you.
Abe,
Yeah.
I'd like to start with you.
Uh-oh.
You have been with Paul McCartney now for 15 years. You've
Crazy.
been there longer than Ringo was with the Beatles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen the show. It's not only is it an amazing show, I think it was 3 hours long.
Yeah. Amazingly long, but it's also
The band was
really
great.
good.
Your vocals obviously were great.
Oh, thank you, man.
Can you remember how that gig originally came about?
Yeah, this great producer who is now a dear friend, a guy named David Kahn, who had produced records for Fishbone, Tony Bennett, the Bangles, this varied career of different artists. And Paul was coming to LA, wanted to work with him to make a record, and he asked David to just call a couple of guys up to see if they'd want to maybe do a record. And for some reason, I was the drummer that David thought of, which was weird because we actually hadn't worked together yet. We just met, very friendly, talked about all kinds of stuff that we appreciated about each other. But yeah, so he thought of me to do it, which is crazy. I still, every time I see him, I get down on my knees and thank him.
I mean, it's amazing, really, because obviously Sir Paul, as he is now,
Yeah.
Sir Paul. Do you have to call him Sir Paul?
No.
Okay.
He's on a more personal level.
Yeah, personal level.
Call him
Yeah,
Mr. McCartney.
He doesn't need to be touring. He doesn't need to be working.
No,
but
no.
he's still going out there. I mean,
It's for the love of it, man, and that's the thing, like the beautiful thing about him is that he really has this boundless energy, he doesn't want to retire, he doesn't want to, live the life of leisure. He feels like if he's going to take time off, it's because he's worked, like a proper vacation. So he's going to work and then take a couple weeks off, and then he's going to, so it's that kind of thing. He wants to earn the time off still.
Really?
Yeah, which is beautiful.
I guess
That's
it's tough
great.
for you though, because obviously, well, not tough, but this is your gig.
Yeah.
You don't get to do, you can't do much else. Because
It's funny because it started off. I mean, it was a 7-week tour when we first toured, and that was kind of going to be it. And then here we are, 14 years after that tour. And as it's gone on, it's become this thing. Like we work probably 6 to 8 months out of the year now, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, which
For
is
an
great.
artist that's that old.
Yeah.
That's been doing it that long.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
It's
good.
been really good fun. And he's he's a fun hang. It's a family. It's the same band, 5 guys.
Yep. Sound
Up
great.
there making a noise, no Pro Tools, no other trickery, it's just 5 guys making
You
a
mean
noise.
you really can get that high with your voice? Wow! Amazing. Denny, seriously, like I said before, thank you very much for bringing this film. It's a very important story.
Thank you.
And it's a story that needs people to see. I know this hasn't just come overnight.
No.
So tell me a little bit about why you did it
Sure.
and the troubles you've had trying to put it together.
Oh, no troubles.
Easy as
I recommend it to anybody, everybody. Basically, the Wrecking Crew, for those who don't know anything about it, what it is they were the session players in the 60s in LA that did everything from the Beach Boys, Sinatra, Janet Dean, Mamas Papas, anything that was done in LA in the 60s, most likely had a group of session musicians on it. So my dad, Tommy Tedesco, was a guitar player, and he was one of the guys, and Dad was passing away. He had diagnosed with terminal cancer in '95. And it was weird. I was thinking about this a few weeks ago. When they said terminal, it's like, they don't usually say terminal.
Right.
There's always there's hope somewhere.
Yeah.
But there was something they said, no, he's got 11 months. And I thought, oh, geez. So I wanted to tell that story about the session players for many years. And I was a filmmaker, I was in film, and I started put together my friends and crew, and we started filming. That was in '96, '97, Dad passed. '98, I had a 14-minute piece, and I started trying to find money for this. There's 110 songs in this thing. So everybody kept saying, this is great, but you'll never get it made. And they kept saying, A, the labels and the publishers won't come together to help you. That's going to be impossible.
Well, they're all hit songs too.
It's
not like it was
They're
like.
not even just hit songs, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. And then people would come up with ideas. Well, why don't you, bring it down to 20? I said, you can't. I said, deal with. If I told you Smokey Robinson, Temptations, Jackson 5, and Supremes, you know what it is.
Yeah.
That's Motown.
Yeah.
But if I say Sinatra, the Byrds, the Beach
Elvis
Boys,
Presley,
Elvis Presley, and the Chipmunks, what do you got?
Yeah, exactly.
It was quantity.
Yeah.
And it was a machine going on here.
Absolutely.
So I had to do that. And the other reason is they said it won't come together is it's only going to make this much, but we're going to have to pay this much. So everybody stayed away. So we just kept doing what you're not supposed to do, which credit cards, credit card, refi, and kept going. In 2008, got into the film festivals, did really well, but no one would help us still because we still had that $750,000, sync fees and all that.
Yeah.
So basically, we just went to donations for the last 5 years. I just kept going,
Getting close?
Yeah. We came from a dedicated song at the back of this, dedicated song on the DVD.
Oh, that's
So
great.
someone give you $1,000. It's like putting your name up on a wall.
Oh, that's
And it was really interesting. So I, from Be My Baby to everything I could find, anybody that could hustle.
yeah.
The greatest is, you'll like this, is Gary Lewis in the Playboy song, Everybody Loves a Clown. Now, who's going to dedicate that? $1,000. Right. I thought, this is just too good of a song to leave out. I called the clown school, and I got $1,000 from the clown school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was
you did
hustling.
all this yourself,
Yeah, I
didn't you?
had to. Because no one's going to do it.
Yeah.
And it was it's not because, oh, what a hero. I had no choice.
Yeah.
If the film had been in 2008 panned or whatever, walk away.
Right.
But what am I going to do? I just spent 10 years at that point. I had to keep going to make sure it got
Did
across.
you think it was going to take as long as it
No.
did?
No.
When you no.
No.
I'm just
no.
trying to remember when I first saw it at NAM. I mean, when did you start
NAM,
showing
I
it at
started
NAM?
about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that would have been
Every
5 years
Sunday
ago,
we would
guys.
do it.
That's right,
They were
Sunday
really
afternoon.
kind to let us
Yeah.
do that. And we just kind of built up an audience. Musicians taught me everything. You guys taught me about merchandise. You gotta don't charge $15 for a shirt, charge $20. It's one bill. I didn't pay for a hotel room for 2 years because I gave tickets away to the hotel for every screening I went to.
Right.
That's great.
And it was put their name up on the screen beforehand. I had it down.
That's
But
awesome.
like I said, I think that for us, it's such an important
Well,
story.
it's
It needs-
every
it needs
musician's
to be
story.
told.
It doesn't even have to be my father's story or anybody else's story. It's every musician
that's
that
it.
ever plays an instrument. It's their story of making a living playing music.
Yeah. Brings me on to you, Russ, really, because obviously Earl Palmer and Hal Blaine, is on that.
Yeah.
And how I can't remember what he told me once, how many songs he's played on, but it was just it's like 6,000-7,000 songs.
Silly after
Yeah.
a while. Like,
I mean, do you think?
are there even 7,000 albums?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would like. Are there
Well, I
even
think he had the
7,000
song. He played on the Song of the Year for
5 years.
5 years.
6 years
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah,
6 years straight, and then ended up having
I mean,
7.
Can you really see, and being this LA session guy working now,
Yeah.
can you see that ever happening again? And how's it changed?
Happening again? No, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it mostly because you are dealing with the fact that at this point every note from everything that we heard was played by a human, from the Oscar Mayer jingle to a movie soundtrack to a record to whatever. It's people. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
The cartoons, Bugs Bunny cartoons. It's a live orchestra. Everything is human beings and. The percentage of that has gone down and down and down since 1983 when electronics, the LM1 Lindrum, really started it. But it's just gone and down to the point now where maybe 60 to 70% of everything you hear is machines. It's not, guys playing.
Mm-hmm.
And, the talent now has to deal with the interaction of that technology, And, I mean, to the point where... Man, I was doing a record, I won't name who it was, but I was doing a record like a month ago, and with young producers, and they're very successful, and it's a big record, and we start to cut the tune, and I count it off, and I play it. Great, I get through the first verse, I go into the chorus, and they stop, and they go, great. I'm like, all right. They're like, yeah, we got the first verse. We're going to go on to the chorus. I'm like, well, I was going on to the chorus, and they're like,
you can do that?
Yeah, literally, like they can't even conceive the fact that I can play a song for 4.5 minutes without any major issue. That is like beyond their comprehension. Like they think about it in 4 and 8 bar loops, really, but I mean sections. You know what I mean? Like let's get that, and then we'll move on, and then we'll move on, and I'm like, I had to give them the. We're here to capture a performance, man, not assemble one.
Exactly.
That's a big difference.
Or at least let you go through it once, then go back.
But
they just don't think like that.
They really
don't think.
Although I must say that I did hear from Mark Gilliana who just played on the last Bowie album. That they did, and that's what they did on that. They went back. It's funny when they went back to the old days because it's like, well, actually, I thought that was the way you made records, all in a room. Played, like the Wrecking Crews we saw in those videos. But it is quite bizarre now when you speak to guys and go, well, "What was it like to work with Adele?" And they're like, "I don't know, I just sent her some files."
I've played on probably a dozen albums with his dad. I mean, I know him and have met him now, but there was probably 10 records that we played together that I'd never met him.
Right. Yeah, I had a circumstance where these people wanted me to do a session. They wanted me to play drums, and they were like, "Oh, and you play bass too? Why don't you play bass?" It's like, okay, but how about when we heard my dad?
We'll do bass player. No disrespect.
He's pretty good. And they're like,
kid always trying to get his dad a job.
I know, right?
They're like, oh, your dad?
But they were like, oh, at the same time?
Oh no.
Like, we could play it together. Oh, okay. Like, completely blew their mind. They only thought they could do one instrument at a time.
Can I ask a question? Are these? They're not musicians, and the people that are asking you these.
They are musicians.
But
they're
just
new musicians that are used to working with
We're
garage
quantifying
band
the
and-
definition.
Okay, let's not get onto that topic. That could be.
Okay, they are instrument owners
And
operators. No, but they are used to. They're so used to spending time alone creating music.
Right. Yeah.
And working on one bar, and completely manipulating a computer that they don't understand human interaction.
And that was the thing in talking to the old guys. The old guys. I guess you guys are old.
Yeah, we're the
We
old
are
guys
old.
now, right?
But the days when they
Thanks
were
for that.
When did that happen, by the way? I'm not sure when that happened, but it did. I know it did.
Exactly.
See the grade? You see the grade?
It used to be a full head of hair. But they had no choice because they didn't have more than a track.
That's
they have
right.
mono.
That's right.
And they all had to be in the room together. And as Glenn Campbell said, he says everybody in that room was a Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't keep up, you can't come back because we have another gig in 4 hours, 3 hours. So we got to move on. So you can't be holding us up. And everybody was like boom, 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 boom. And and then mistakes happen. And that's what made an album.
That's right.
There are certain parts. I mean, I do a lot of movie stuff, you know, and television. So that stuff,
That's still
it's
live,
still,
yeah.
especially the movie thing. It's like, you know, here's an 11-page chart.
Right.
There's 15 time signatures. You know,
Yeah.
they don't film movies in 4:4. You know,
Yeah.
so you know they're going to cut when they cut.
I worked with Hans Zimmer last year, so I know exactly what.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so you know, in those situations, or like when I was in the house band on American Idol, you know, it's like this.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to read great. Everybody's got to play great. So, and that stems from the tradition set by
Right.
all those guys. That's, I mean, we grew up with that. I mean,
Yeah.
they, you know, that's it.
Right.
Well, actually, yeah, that's what the business is all about. I think Dave Grohl actually, I think, probably helped the industry when he brought out the Sound City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he went back and people were like, "Oh, wow, they're all
Yeah.
what's that? It's reel to reel. What's that all
Yeah.
about?"
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
how
so
that was done?
That's
Yeah.
well, we might have a go at that. So
I mean, the thing about it was, remember the tape cost $125 for 15 minutes.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
were like,
yeah.
we got 2, maybe
Precious.
3 takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We don't have another $125.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't even. It was like out of necessity.
Oh,
Like,
it's,
you know.
thinking of technology, the same thing with film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
Just
film,
all-
Went
we stopped
digital,
using.
yeah.
Yeah, once we stopped using film, you know, that's when you did a lot of rehearsals.
Yeah.
You know, you make sure you rehearse before you put it on film.
wait a minute. We should have rehearsed this before we actually
Yeah, exactly.
We were-
Too late now.
I want to go on to with Abe and Denny. You both want to ask how your childhood was, because both of your fathers were actually quite successful in their own genres and musicians in themselves, and how that was like growing up around all of that.
Well, yeah, actually, our fathers worked together. You know,
Oh, yeah, they did.
They did
Yeah.
loads of sessions together. You know,
and you
so
didn't meet in that whole time.
we never met. I met your father.
Yeah. See, I was kept away.
Yeah.
No, it's weird
Locked you up
because
somewhere, didn't they?
there's certain fate. It's funny because I've always wanted to know because, you know, Abe, you know, went on to, you know, be a successful musician. None of us played. None of us play because we never I never practiced.
Okay.
But we weren't into it. It
I
wasn't
mean,
like
your brothers and sisters. You
no,
those,
no. I mean, we took instruments, but it wasn't. But Dad went to work. I never saw Dad play at home.
Oh, really?
Until 76, 77, when he was
really?
doing his own jazz album.
Oh, man.
So he left the instruments in the car.
Yeah.
And he never pulled them out. He got up at 8, whatever he was going to session, 8 o'clock, come home late at night.
Yeah.
But never saw.
Was that never discussed? Was it like?
No,
you
it was
know,
just that was just part of it. It wasn't like he was hiding.
He
No,
just
no,
treated
it's
it
just-
as that's
yeah.
my
was-
job. It's over there.
Yeah, and
this
he'd
is
come home and
family.
he'd watch TV, gamble, play cards. I was saying the other day, I went to Snuff Garrett's, he just passed, one of the producers. He was the only guy I knew because they all played cards. You know, and he was the only guy that came over if there was a card game going.
Oh, that's
You know, or a Frank Cap would come over, a card game, but that was it.
interesting.
It's funny because I remember you.
He had
telling
the
me once-
opposite.
I mean, you
Yeah,
were the opposite
yeah.
because you'd said
We would jam. My
Yeah.
dad would. I mean, my very first, you know, remembrance. I got my first drum kit when I was 4,
Yeah.
and my dad would sit down. He would show me a beat, and then he'd pick up his bass, and then we would jam.
Yeah.
For hours. You know, and so
Amazing.
that was our interaction. You know, so whenever it's unbelievable. I'm really
about you,
moved
siblings?
clearly. Yeah, one brother, one younger brother.
Does he play?
He plays as well. Yeah, plays some guitar and is a great producer, hip hop kind of stuff, and film composer as well. So yeah, he does.
And then the
all-
Picaros.
yeah,
the cars. That's right.
man,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're all just
I
super
mean,
talented,
then you
that
got
family.
Larry Carlton's, you know,
Yeah, Travis.
Travis.
Is
The Wackermans,
unbelievable.
another
Right.
family that all
Yeah.
sort of play.
Yeah.
I know when we've had conversations, Abe, before, you've said, you know, it would almost be nothing to have Quincy Jones sitting at your table with your dad.
you
or,
would have
know,
those
it was
guys
just-
come
It was
hang.
just there.
Yeah,
It was just like, yeah.
absolutely, man.
Which I think actually is a nice thing about your character, because you're a very humble character, and I think when we've discussed this before, you've said, I grew up with all these guys in my house,
Yeah.
but there's nothing to be.
Yeah. Or going to their houses.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, or just, I was at these sessions, so I was there, you know, when they tracked Dancing on the Ceiling with Lionel Richie.
That's so cool.
And, you know, it's just like, luckily they let me, I was cool enough, I guess, I would just sit there with headphones on and hang out. But I would be that
Were
close
you
to.
too afraid if you like breathed, you'd be like
Yeah.
sent out of the room?
Yeah, no, exactly. You didn't want to mess up, you know. But I'd be that close to Vinny or JR or Carlos or Jeff or Gad or whatever when they were tracking, and I would sit there and just watch each of them do their thing, man.
Yeah.
What kind of response do people like Steve Gadd and that have to you now, knowing when you were a little kid?
I mean, it's
I mean,
always,
do they still treat
always
you like a
love.
kid?
It's always love, and yeah, I mean,
They don't pick you up and
yeah, they try. And then after the hernia,
Yeah.
but no, it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, because
I think
they're proud.
He's one of theirs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
They're
obviously
all my
they've seen him.
fathers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Having the dad there, and now you know the boys come through. Cool. Well, let's
Talking point.
talking point.
Talking
Jill's
point,
talking point.
yeah.
What have you got for us?
So my talking point actually came from watching your movie, where after the whole sessions started to die out a bit, obviously that
Era.
ended,
Yeah.
and your father started going into doing clinics as other type of work and interact with people. It made me go, that kind of really was the start of when clinics really became the thing to do, to interact with your fans or peers and everything
Right.
else. But then when I was thinking about it, I was like, is that now coming towards an end now? And where
Right.
it's got, what's the next thing, so to speak? And what, particularly, Abe, I know you can't answer because you really don't do.
I think I've done like two.
He's too busy. We're going to change that. On camera now, we're going to change it.
Well,
you keep
I'm gonna-
saying no to me.
I'm going to cover the McCartney gig. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
okay, all right.
Okay,
Don't
and
worry.
then you're
You
gonna,
sure?
yeah, and then you can
Plus,
go
you
run.
can't sing that high. I'm telling you now. You cannot sing
No,
that high.
you don't want to hear me sing. Period. Let alone.
Why don't you just tell him it's a recording session? It's a double.
Yeah.
Show
He's
up,
getting a double
bring
recording
it.
session. Just set him set and then say, "Oh, there's no drums. I can talk."
Yeah.
I'll make sure he can cook because he likes to cook.
Oh,
So
yeah,
make sure he
I
can do
gotta
the
do
cooking.
that.
Yeah.
Well, also,
Anyway.
I'll start with Russ because you do clinics.
Yeah, I have
What's
for-
your thoughts on?
Well, you know, it's funny. I do a column in Modern Drummer every month, the concept column, which is what Roy Burns did for 20 years. And the one that I just wrote, it's not out yet. It's called Drum Clinics: What Happened.
Oh,
wow.
Literally, that's the one I just wrote.
Okay.
Interesting.
But anyway, you know, I've been around that for a long time. I grew up going to see Bernard Purdy, Roy Burns, these guys, and Roy was really one of the first clinicians, probably the very first. And then Louis Bellson, Remo Belli put Louis Bellson to do some of those things. And for all of us, I think, you know, it was an opportunity to meet this person that we loved listening to on a record, and we could never get close to him at a concert. You couldn't do anything like that, and it was like, man, Bernard Purdy's like sitting right here, like
Demystifying.
And one of the things that I always say, and I said in the article, was, you know, you got to understand that YouTube's not getting it done, man. You have to sit beside Vinny Caliuta. When you sit beside Vinny at the Baked Potato, and you sit, I remember when I first moved to LA, and I saw him play. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta be that good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
that's possible?
Yeah,
You
like
can do that?
but when you feel the prowess of a player like, you know, Abe or anybody like that you know, it's a different feeling. It's a different presentation of like, man, this guy's like, they're not fooling around, you know.
Being in the room.
Yeah, you can't get that from YouTube. And I think that's one of the things that the generation misses. And one of the things that's great about clinics, I think the big problem with clinics is a lot of guys took it to somewhere where it was never really intended, where it kind of became their gig. And they would create a gig out of it. And this was a show, and it wasn't that. And really, I think the intention was, you know, to be able to sit there with Louis Bellson and say, wow, how did you do this, or how did you do that? I remember talking to Louis about stuff at clinics, and years later, you know, I befriended him and spent time with him, and we talked about that. And I mean, they're an awesome opportunity that I think got a little off course. And I think that market got a bit wore out because of it. That's why it's declining. Because I think anybody would want to sit in a room with him and talk about working with Paul McCartney, or how many times I've done them. I've always enjoyed doing them. I like sharing information, you know, and how many people ask you, what's it like to play on Avatar, or what's it like to, you know, do that, you know, and have, I think that's really interesting to people, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think the format diversion that happened of guys going dig me for 90 minutes, I think that's dying. So I'm hoping that the whole thing doesn't die.
Well, it's very self-satisfying that it's a bit,
Yeah.
you know, for lack of a better, can I say masturbatory? It's a bit that,
Wow, you can.
know?
I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a big word.
Yeah,
Can I use it?
Yeah, I'm just, but it really is. It's like
is.
it's because to me, music has always been about interaction.
Absolutely.
And that's what the clinic should represent too.
Totally.
It
Yeah,
should
totally.
be that interaction
Yeah.
with the audience and with.
Yeah. And I think, like, for me, like, I've always taken records that I played on that I maybe had a mix minus drums and said, you know, here's Christina Aguilera track or here's the Nelly Furtado track, you know, whatever. And it's funny because after a period of time, I think guys started to go, well, yeah, that's cool, but, you know, play some crazy double bass stuff.
Yeah.
Or,
It's
you know,
not
and you're
what-
going,
yeah.
yeah, but dig this, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I
That's
never
not
bought a
gonna get you a
house
gig.
doing that.
Right.
I bought a house doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, that's, I think, the biggest thing for your point is, like, you know, people looking at YouTube or looking at those situations and, you know, the distance to making a living playing is so far from staring at your computer watching YouTube to how am I going to turn this into this, where, you know, the distance between sitting and talking to a great drummer for a minute and him saying, what, man, it's because I practice and I learned and I, you know, I've taken lessons my whole life. I still do.
Yeah.
You know, I study with
That's
Peter
important.
Erskine for
That's
years
right.
now.
Wow,
You
that's
know?
great.
And, you know, it's like just going to somebody, look, I still take lessons. I still practice. I still do these things. You can do this. Like, you know, meeting somebody and doing it. I think it's super important. It's just got to be done correctly.
Do you think that that shift's happening now then, or we're getting to that turning point? If you
You know, I think the companies are lightening up on it because I think it went off into this other thing where guys were going,
It's a
you know,
career.
yeah, we're paying this guy's,
Yeah.
you know, salary.
Yeah, that's right. They haven't got a gig anymore.
Right.
Now it's a career.
Yeah.
And I think that takes away, if you're not, unless you got a huge name, like, you know, someone, I think it takes away, if you're not working, why, you know, they forget who you are. I think you have to be credible at that point, or, you know.
Well, that's the kick of it, man, because you see this where, you know, why is he here? Oh, because he's got 5 million views on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's
Now
like,
there
why
are
is
some
he
drummers
here?
who-
Because he
who
plays with Paul
started-
McCartney.
Yes.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Let's straighten
with my
that out.
job.
But it's our culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's famous for being famous.
Yeah.
It's that Orbis thing. You
Well,
know,
you
it's
look at
feeding
there's
upon
some drummers
itself,
now
isn't
that
it?
they've made it because they've been putting stuff on YouTube, probably looking for feedback, and actually they're now starting to do clinics and that because of.
Well, it's
being-
interesting you said that because I do these cover girl things, and not me personally.
I was like, I don't know if I want to see that.
But we were like doing tutorials, and some of the kids that were, you know, they, you know, we spend money, you know, they, you know, do these tutorials or on MTV networks and all this, and basically it's all these kids that have huge views. I don't know who any of them are sometimes.
Wow.
You know, they're 17. It's like, oh, I don't know why we're here, but you know what? Her audience knows.
There it is.
You know,
it is.
so-
Yeah.
I mean, I think we definitely need to step back and look at the business model change. And I mean, I think any smart business person, and we all are business people, need to look at a different business model and go, okay, I see how that's working. You know, this person has this YouTube thing, and it's not my model. You know, it's not the model that I grew up with. So I think it's harder for us to understand and go, what? Like, who cares how many people sat in their bedroom? Like, you know, I wanted the cat to call me for a date. Like, you know what I mean? I want, when the contract's filled out, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, but
Contract.
yeah, a contract.
Contract.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Piece of paper.
Promising that you'll pay. Actually, we didn't get anything here, did we?
We've got to go
We
to
didn't pick
commercial
one.
break.
All
So
right.
we're gonna take a little break, and so we'll come back with you in a minute.
The badge had to represent what we are and what we do. So it's a combination of ornate. It's an ornate badge, but in the badge there's a message to build and excel, and to inspire and enhance, and that's exactly what our drums do. So people would ask, what makes a good drum? Well, it's everything that makes a good drum, and it's the small detail from A to Z. It's the timber type. It's the gluing of the timber, the cutting, the lacquer, the edges, the lugs, the heads, the hoops. Everything goes together and makes that product. And if it's all good, it's like baking. You get out what you put into it. All the good ingredients, and that's what makes a good drum.
Behind the cameras are going to hurt.
Okay, so we're back. And we've come to the section show and tell. Okay,
Cool.
so this is where you have the opportunity to show us something that means something to you,
Cool.
and tell us a little bit about it, like you did at school. You remember these days? Abe, let's start with you. What have you got for
All
us?
right, I brought two special trophies, the finest of trophies. This one was given to me by my bandmate. I had a band called Chocolate Genius, and
Amazing band name.
right? A great band name. And it was a kind of a collective of guys from LA, guys from New York, but he and I were the guys who kind of kept going back and forth and working with everybody and writing the music and finishing it. We put out 3 records that I'm on, and then he put a 4th one that I couldn't do. But anyways, this was a gift from him. It's When Pigs Fly, a representation of flying pigs. And it just made me smile, and it's prominently displayed in my home. And then this one was the most recent award that I got, and it's from the 8G Band, who are the house band for the Seth Meyers show,
Oh, yeah.
Late Night with Seth Meyers. And I sat in with them for a couple of weeks as the house drummer for my friend Fred Armisen, who's the
That's right.
normal drummer, so like he couldn't do it, and whatever. So I was one of the guys that did it. There's some Josh Freese is doing it this week, and last week like Glenn Cochie was doing it.
Wow.
But they gave me this award, which is Best in Rock. So
Wow.
Very proud.
Very
Yeah,
good.
I'm very proud of that.
Very
Yeah.
good. And Denny, what have you got for us?
Well, let's see. We came out with the Wrecking Crew LP,
okay.
which is we did actually the Wrecking Crew CD,
Yep.
and that has 4 CDs, which is 3 CDs of hits, and then the 4th CD is I made sure I wanted to represent the guys, so I licensed music from like Don Randy, Emil Richards, so all kinds of different things. Even Hal has a big band.
Yeah.
Drum stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that, hello on the mic. So that's what we did, and that's 2 LPs there. And then
That's awful.
this is a book that came out by Ken Sharp, who
This
at
is
the,
amazing.
it's amazing.
You said you
he,
got this
he got
for-
one
I
for
got it for
Christmas.
For Christmas.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a gorgeous book. It's Ken did most of the interviews himself.
Right.
He used some of my interviews for people he couldn't obviously get to. Don Randy, some of the contracts,
Yeah.
pictures from all the guys.
But we were talking earlier, the contract. I mean, the first thing that happened, I opened this book up, I look at the union contract, and it's exactly the same as the one we use right
Yeah.
now,
Brilliant.
from 1960.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I mean,
Yeah.
so we were the publishers on it, and I'm very proud of it because it really tells their story. All the guys have their words in it.
Wow.
And
It's beautiful, man.
oh, there's the contract.
That's it.
Yeah,
Am I lying or am I
Lift
telling
it.
you?
Oh yeah,
no.
there it is.
To the camera.
There it is.
There's the
It's the B8 phonograph recording contract.
Wow.
Same one we use.
That is great.
Yeah. So it's
And I love the fees on some of them, where it was like $30.
Oh, yeah.
$30.
Oh,
Yeah.
that hasn't changed then.
Yeah, it was 6%.
yeah, exactly.
So they were getting twice as much as us.
And obviously, where can you buy this on the
on the
Wrecking Crew
website. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should give them a code, and we'll give them a special
we'll
code
put
from
that on your thing for you. Oh, well, if you want to do that,
The show code.
you
Whatever you want.
Yeah, we give
We're
a
You
show
come up with the code.
The code is this.
You
The
get
show code is a discount.
discount for
Oh.
only your viewers.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at that.
We'll
Okay,
give-
Russ,
High-tech.
beat that.
All right.
Come on. What have you got?
Okay, couple things.
Couple of things.
I'm going to do this quick.
Okay.
First off,
Okay.
my OCD part of me
Yeah.
collects things. Drives my wife crazy.
Oh.
So I have sort of 2 collections. I have the collection of stuff that I did in my studio, and it's whatever, gold records or platinum records, or I'll save Billboard things. I brought one. And then I have the collection of just my other music stuff from other people.
Yeah.
So I brought some things from my collection. I brought this for Abe, because I thought he'd like it.
Whoa.
It's
Oh,
the
wow.
number 1
Dude,
of the
show the
Beatles.
camera.
That's amazing.
Yeah, of their magazine.
How much is
And
that?
that's clean.
50 cents.
Yeah, 50 cents.
50 cents.
Yeah,
Give
and
them
it's
$1.
really mint condition. So, and it can vary from anything. It can be a magazine like that to like, this was Louis got me this and signed it for me, Louis Belson. It was like a
That's beautiful.
what do you call it, limited edition drum that Remo made for him
Yeah.
right before he passed away.
Wow.
gorgeous.
Yeah, and we would spend. And then this one, what else I got? Okay, like here's one from like my side where I would take a Billboard thing and film it, like some on the number
yeah.
1
Cool,
record or
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
But But this one is really special. I got this with the props from Gene Krupa's wife. And it's a shot of Gene in the 50s.
Oh,
Right? And these are the sticks
He's using
that he was using.
Hang on.
And
Let me have
dig
a look
these
at those
sticks,
sticks.
man. Dig these sticks, they're like bananas.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. It's literally a stick.
So they're not Vic Firth, though.
No, they're definitely not Big Firth. I mean, you know, look at that, dude.
They're not your sticks as well.
No,
there's not enough
no.
wood there to make
No,
two.
those are
one
mine.
Yeah, I
of
was
your
going to
sticks.
say, you got to glue
Sticks,
two of them
really,
together.
yeah.
But I mean, the fact that these cats are playing at that level with gear like this,
Yeah.
you know, where the stick is like, you can't even you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. But Gene's wife gave me these, and
That's
you know,
beautiful.
so just stuff like that. I'm into collecting things. and-
Well, thank you very much.
That's awesome.
That's excellent. Okay. To Brent.
Yes, we're now going to go into our regular feature. We've got Brent, bobblehead Brent.
This is Brent.
This
Hi,
is
Brent.
Brent.
This is
Hi,
Brent from
Brent.
Gibraltar.
From Gibraltar. For Brent's hang, Brent, what have you got for us today?
Okay.
Hey Mike and Gill, thanks again for having me on the show. Today we're doing another hardware makeover, and this one's for drummer Josue Velasquez. Now for those of you that aren't familiar with this, on our show we do hardware makeovers for drummers. They send me videos and pics, and I remake it using Gibraltar hardware, but I keep everything in the same place. So let's get started. So let's see what Josue is working with here. He's got 8, 10, 12 rack toms, 14, 16 floor, 22-inch bass drum, and a 14-inch main snare. Now on his left side, as far as cymbals, he's got 2 crashes. Right above his rack toms, he's got 2 splashes. And on his right side, he's got 2 crashes, a ride, and a china. He also has a set of wind chimes right over a 16 to top it all off. So circling back to the left side, he has a side snare that he's using a tom bracket and a tom arm to mount. He has a mixer, a drink holder, and a music stand. But sorry, Josue, I don't have a music stand. So he's using a rack to mount everything in the front and everything on the left side. On the right side, he's using stands. Now, a rack is a very efficient way of mounting a lot of gear. But for those of you that are not interested in using racks, but you still like the functionality of racks, I'm going to show you another option using hybrid setups that you can incorporate your own stands and still have the benefit and functionality of a rack. So let's see what I did. So for the left side, we're going to talk about it as a chunk because there's quite a bit going on here. What I did was I created a workstation out of the side stealth rack, which is the GSS MS. Out of the front leg, I mounted his secondary left-hand crash. On the crossbar, I mounted the secondary snare, which I used a snare basket to mount to the crossbar for those of you that don't want to mount a bracket to the side of your snare shell. Out of the back leg, I used our laptop stand to hold the mixer. And I also added our little nifty drink holder too. So I'm mounting all my rack toms to tom stands. I've got my 8-inch tom, my 10-inch tom, and my left main crash, and my first splash here, all consolidated into one stand. I'm using the 6713 QP, which is a quad mount stand. It's designed to hold 2 rack toms and 2 cymbals. Now on the right side, I've got my 12-inch tom, right main crash, and secondary splash mounted to a single tom stand, which is the 6713 SP. Now this stand is designed to hold 2 different items, but I was able to get 3 on there. So what I did was I attached my splash to the same tom arm that my 12-inch tom is mounted to. On our right side is where we get a little bit of the hybrid action going. Now I've got a 46-inch curve bar connected to the front tom stand to the back cymbal stand that's holding all of our cymbals. We've got our ride mounted to the crossbar, we've got our secondary right crash mounted to the crossbar, and we've got our wind chimes mounted to the crossbar. Our china is on the cymbal stand supporting the crossbar in the back. The product highlights for this setup are the GSS MS, the side stealth rack, the 6713 QP quad mount tom stand, the 6713 SP single mount tom stand, and the SC GPR 46C 46-inch curve bar. Well, that's it for this episode of Hardware Makeover. Josue, thank you very much for submitting your kit. If I butchered your name, I'm sorry. For those of you that are interested in submitting, please send all your videos and pictures to brentshang.gibraltar@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So, use it or lose it. And actually, Denny, it's quite funny that you've got a show and tell. Because my use it and lose it today is 2 items. Okay, the first item is the movie, the Wrecking
Yep.
Crew movie.
I heard it's really good.
It's not bad, I have to say. And
But
as I
you know,
said,
it's the bonus material.
I was going to say, the bonus
That's the
material.
biggest problem.
Because I only have the bootleg version.
See? I
Which
love
I've
this
had
honesty.
for 5 years.
All right, musicians, listen, musicians.
But it's because
I
it
love
wasn't
you. I know.
available. It wasn't available.
No.
But now it's available.
So pay him now, though.
So now I'm going to buy it.
it.
So now I'm going to
6
buy
hours
it.
of bonus material.
That's awesome,
that's
man.
a flight. That's half the flight to London.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, yeah.
so cool.
So
That's
this
really
is where
cool.
you find out
Okay.
if you've got any friends on the sofa. Because, so basically, how this works is you decide whether you would use this product
Yeah.
or you would bin it. Don't want it, okay?
Yeah.
So the DVD,
Yeah.
and I also have your book, okay, which is a great book. So again, you know this book because you got it for
do.
Christmas by the sounds of it. So would you use or lose these items?
Use.
Would you have a proper one or a bootleg?
Yeah. No, I didn't know
yeah.
about the proper one. I thought it was only on Netflix or
It's
something.
okay. I love
so-
musicians, bootlegs.
Hey, only on the stuff you can't buy.
Damn right.
Only
You know, I
on the
gotta
stuff
tell
you
you,
can't buy.
musicians are the best because they're like ants. They're in bands, right? And they go.
Yep.
They tell everybody.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
So
do.
that's why
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay with them.
No, this is
So guys,
exciting, man.
use it or lose it.
Oh,
Use
use,
it.
it, of course.
Use it.
Use
This
it.
is awesome.
Use it.
Okay.
This is on my the table
I'm
in
gonna
my
get
That
that.
could have got messy.
I'm gonna get that.
I'm not. I'm done with it. I don't need it.
You've lost it.
Lost it.
That's my book, if you don't mind.
Thank God my wife's not here. She'll tell you.
Okay, well, thank you. We're now going to go over to the second studio where the guys are going to do their 1 minute with. So let's see how they get on.
Right, here we are with 1 minute with. First up is Denny Tedesco. Are you ready?
As ready as can be.
Ready as could be.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the first record you ever bought?
Oh, that's a good one. Brandy.
What's the last record you ever bought?
Oh God, it was this the other day. Oh my God. I hate this game.
You want to pass?
Pass.
Favorite holiday vacation?
Greece.
Best interview ever?
This one.
Good answer. What is? How do you? Oh man, what are you currently looking to do next?
Work.
Work. What's your favorite type of food?
Pesto.
If you were to choose, Buddy or Ringo?
Buddy or Ringo?
Yep. Which one do you prefer?
Ringo.
Ringo. What is your life ethos in one word?
Say it again.
What is your life ethos in one word?
Oh God. Love.
What other hobbies do you have apart from this one? No.
I need a hobby.
If you weren't a
It's
film,
obviously not playing music.
if you weren't a film director, what would you be?
I would like to save the world and find environmental causes like water conservation.
Oh, that's an amazing answer.
I'm serious.
And that's your minute.
Oh wow.
Well done.
So
well done.
maybe I'll get hired to do water conservation. You asked me earlier. That's what I would love to do.
All right, here we are with another 1 minute with.
Russ
Are
Miller.
you ready, Russ Miller?
I am Russ Miller.
Yes. Are you ready? You just want
You're
everyone to
Gill,
know.
I'm Russ.
Yep.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
And the favorite record you performed on.
Nelly Furtado's Whoa Nelly.
The drummer you first saw that made you want to be one.
Steve Smith.
Favorite live venue you have played in.
Red Rocks in Colorado.
What's the first record you ever bought?
First record I ever bought. Buddy Rich, Roar 74.
Last record you ever bought.
The very last record I ever bought was Sammy Davis and Buddy Rich live at the Sands.
Oh, nice. Favorite movie of all time.
Star Wars.
Your favorite drum item.
Drum item, my artist snare drum.
Flight or tour bus.
Oh, flight.
Favorite holiday vacation.
Disney World.
What are you currently practicing in one?
I am studying with Peter Erskine, which I have been for a while, and working on dynamics and touch.
What's the first drum kit you ever owned?
It was a breakbeat drum set from Sears for $85, but the first real one was a Tama Superstar.
Favorite rudiment.
Rad McHugh.
That's it. That's your 1 minute. Well done.
All right. All right.
All right. Final 1 minute with right now. Abe, are you ready? Are you a bit nervous?
Very nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Okay.
It's all right.
All
It's all right. Breathe.
Okay.
And
And
favorite rudiment.
paradiddle.
Buddy or Ringo?
Ringo.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Apple or PC?
Apple.
How old were you when you started playing?
4.
Favourite type of food?
Italian.
First drum kit you ever owned?
It was a hybrid mix-up.
Do you play another instrument?
Yes.
Favourite album of all time?
Oh, White Album.
A new drummer you have just gotten into?
The drummer for a band called Goddamn. I don't remember his name now.
Coated or clear tom heads?
It depends.
If you were not a musician, what would you do?
Cook.
What is your favourite all-time drum book that you do not own?
I do not have any, and I don't like any of them.
What is your favourite holiday vacation?
Going back east.
A flight or tour bus?
Flight.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
If they were dead or alive, which artist drum would you love to play with?
Jimi Hendrix.
Favourite all-time drum item?
Drum key.
Favourite all-time movie?
Ooh, oh God. I was so close, wasn't I? Throw Mama from the Train.
And that's your 1 minute win.
All right,
Well done,
all right.
well done.
Oh, man. So I actually made it through.
Okay, well done, guys.
Well done, Abe.
Yeah,
we should
well
hire
done.
you. We should hire you
Whoa.
to do that for
That
us.
was not easy. That was not easy.
The pressure.
So we've come to almost the end of the show, and I thought maybe instead of me asking you questions, have you got any questions for each other on the sofa? You know, anything you'd like to ask? I mean, I know Denny was asking.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, you know, learning your instrument, did you know you wanted to be a session player? Or did you just want to be a rock and roller? What was your goal?
I think everybody, when they first start playing, wants to be a rock star,
Right.
you know. And I would sit in the basement, you know, playing with Journey records,
Hell
you know,
yeah.
or AC/DC, you know, whatever. But yeah, you know what? One of the things that really struck me about recording was I loved the fact that if you had a great day at work, it lasted forever.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know that when you go to a gig
That's
and
very good.
and you know you would go to the gig and you
Yeah.
kill it, you know, and the only people were there was the 7 people in the audience
Yeah.
and the drunk guy at the bar, and you're like, man, I threw this away.
It's more Tibetan that way.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love that. So I did. When I first moved to Los Angeles in 1995, that was my goal, to do sessions, you know, out of all these guys, you
Right.
know, and Picaro and all those guys that I saw. And to be honest with you, I feel super, super blessed. I know Abe, you know, he's the same age as me basically, but I think we caught like
We
the
got the end of
very
it, man.
yeah.
Oh.
I caught the very end of it. You
Where
know?
there were real dates. And
I
you would
had
be there
3 drum
3 days
sets
yeah.
rotating,
Yep.
and Drum Paradise is picking one up here and
Yep.
putting in
Yeah.
another studio,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely,
I'm, you know,
man.
and we're going. This is it. This is what I wanted to do, man.
Yeah.
This is what I saw Hal do.
What was your first, both of you, what was your first song you heard on the radio
That I played
you
on?
played on?
Nelly Furtado's "I'm Like a Bird." Yeah, it was a really big hit.
It must have been a gas to hear
Well,
yourself.
and it was like the first one that did well enough to do that, and it was huge. It was a Grammy-winning 9 million record,
Yeah.
you know, a big, huge, and it
Yeah.
was. So I heard it everywhere, and for a minute I was like, "Oh, that's just what happens." You know, you go everywhere, Taco Bell, Home Depot, you know, you hear yourself,
Yeah.
and then you know you realize it's really a numbers game, though. I mean, because we've all done I don't know how many records, you know, but only certain ones are successful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even these guys. I mean,
Oh, they had
the
thousands of
the-
bombs.
The
Oh.
sheer
As my
Oh,
father
yeah,
said.
sheer
yeah.
numbers are amazing. You know,
Yeah.
that you go, yes, you look at that hit list and you go, but to get that many hits,
Yeah.
they had to do an absurd amount of
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
bombs.
it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
What was yours?
Mine was Baby I Love Your Way, done by Big Mountain. It was a remake of the Frampton tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the first time I heard it, and it was, you know, #1 hit. The first, you know, session that I did that became a #1, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's
great,
crazy.
great track.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have a question for Abe. So, because I can sing okay,
yeah.
and I can play okay,
Yeah.
but I can't sing and play okay. So do you, like, when you have to learn, when, like, say Paul brings a song or whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, do you have to work the drum out, then work out the vocal, or do you just have the facility now that you can just play the part and do that?
It's more about it is about doing it all at the same time.
Yeah.
There are some things that I'm horrible at, with like lyrics I'm terrible at, and thankfully we have little cheats and little
Right.
ways of,
Yeah.
you know, I have like a little
Teleprompter,
teleprompter
yeah.
and thing that otherwise you get a lot of oohs and ahs out of me.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it does. It's like a fifth limb.
Yeah.
You know, you just start thinking about breathing differently. That was the first thing that I had to relearn.
Yeah,
'cause,
yeah.
You know, often when I got really into playing, you'd hear me go
Yeah,
and
yeah, I
grunting
do
all
that
along,
too
and I've stopped doing that because I'm ready to like,
Yeah.
and do the thing. So
And it's part of the phrasing singing too. Is the
Yeah,
breath is part of the phrase.
Absolutely.
You gotta,
Opposite sometimes to what you're playing on. The, if
Definitely.
you're pulling or pushing on the drums,
Yeah.
and pulling on the.
Yeah,
a bit
absolutely.
I've actually done, not at any level of his. But
well, and it's hard for. I
Oh,
mean, you see like a Sting or somebody, and you go, "Wow, that's amazing." He's playing the singing 5, and he's singing and blah blah.
Right.
But the drums is 5. It's literally 5-limb independence.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
When you're singing.
absolutely,
It's amazing.
and the phrasing, you have to sit me back usually, so
Yeah.
there's often times when I have to be pushing the groove
Right.
and at the same time laying
Laying
the
back on the vocals.
You're
vocals.
ridiculous,
Bizarre.
man.
It's
It's
weird.
awesome.
It's just
Yeah,
weird.
He's awesome
man.
at it.
But you still don't use the headset, then you're still on the microphone.
No, you know what? I used
Still rock and roll.
back in the day, because when I started singing along, like Steve Vai was the first gig that I had gotten.
That you sung.
And I sang. Yeah,
Wow,
it was
okay.
because he had this band with a singer, this kid named Devin Townsend.
Yeah. Great rock singer.
Yeah, great.
Great rock singer.
Incredible singer,
Yeah.
great writer.
You got that record with Bozio did the record.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Ridiculous
Unbelievable.
record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Sex and Religion.
Yeah.
That album with
Yeah.
Bozio.
And that's the only reason I heard about them auditioning,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, Bozio did it. All right, maybe I should go check it out, because I was a fan. I am a fan.
Yeah.
But of course I showed up not knowing anything about Steve Vai, knowing nothing about the music, but he was like, we got on well. And he said, okay, I need you to be able to sing, and I need you to be able to play double bass, and I need you to play in odd times.
Okay.
So come back tomorrow.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I practiced all night and did all kinds of stuff, and then I came back and was like, all right, yeah, this is gonna work. So we he was instrumental in me getting that independence and kind of drilling the idea of
Right.
being able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used a headset then. The problem was I sweat so much, I would ruin the capsules. So I would have to have 3 or 4 headsets in every couple songs. I'd have to get a new one while the
really?
other one got dried out.
Wow.
So so after a while I was
that's why
like,
you
this
use
is
the-
stupid. So I got into the punk rock, moving the
is it-
thing around,
I mean, only because I've seen obviously Paul's gig.
Yeah.
Are you moving your mic stand, or is,
Yeah.
okay? I couldn't
Yeah.
remember if I saw someone else
No,
moving
and
your
I-
mic stand,
I
or
never
if you
thought
do.
to do that, because
Yeah.
I see now that's how everyone else does it.
Everyone's
They
got-
have their drum tech go.
You've got some guy now moving the
Yeah.
microphone, and it's like,
Yeah.
can't you do that
Yeah.
yourself?
But it's, I feel it's more punk rock.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, I used to have this gooseneck that was so
Yeah.
loose that when I would push
yeah.
it, it would like go
Yes.
too far, and catch it with my mouth, and like move it back with my head.
Well, I have to say, listen, guys, thank you. Seriously, it's been a real pleasure having you on the sofa. Thank you for giving your time. Honestly, Denny, you are doing the music service a huge
Listen, I am just
Thank you
honored
for telling
to
the story.
be
Whatever
with
you're
these
saying,
guys. It's like
whatever it
crazy.
is, you are, because the story is a great
Thank you.
story. I know you did it for your dad, and you should be very proud of it. And seriously, the
appreciate
movie's
that.
great.
Thank you.
And like I said, thank you very much for having us and coming along today. So thank you very much. I don't know how we're going to beat this, but please, anyone that has not seen that movie, I urge you to see it.
Buy
Support it.
Buy it.
Support
Buy
it.
it.
If
I'm gonna buy 2 now.
Unfortunately,
I was going to say,
or buy the DVD, or buy the T-shirt, but buy it. So thank you very much, thank you very much, guys. We're out of here. We're going to go get some sunshine. So goodbye, everybody. See you later.
Ciao.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sunshine.